You've seen the togas, you've heard the myths. You think Rome was all sunshine and wine? Then you've never spent a winter as a Roman peasant, because when the wind howled through the cracked stone walls and the hearth burned low, if it burned at all, survival became a nightly battle. No insulation, no heaters, no proper clothes. And if you couldn't afford firewood, you got creative or you froze. This is how Rome's poorest citizens endured the coldest nights of the year, with mud floors, shared body heat, and techniques that bordered on madness. And by the end of this video, you'll be thanking your thermostat, and maybe never complaining about winter again. Number 1. One fire, 15 bodies. Roman peasants didn't have central heating. In fact, most didn't even have a hearth. If a family had firewood, they used it sparingly. One small fire in a single room, and everyone crowded around it like their lives depended on it. Because they did. Some families would place the youngest children in the middle and adults around them like a human blanket, because losing a baby to cold was tragically common. Ancient sources mention homes so cramped that even strangers were invited inside at night just for shared body heat, especially in tenement housing during cold snaps. Number 2. Mud brick and animal dung insulation. Most Roman peasants lived in small, poorly built insulae or rural huts with thin stone or wattle and daub walls. The solution? Add layers. Peasants insulated their homes with whatever they had: mud, straw, and, yes, dried animal dung. Slathered between bricks or smeared across walls, it helped seal cracks and trap heat. Archaeological digs have uncovered wall linings of straw mixed with clay and animal waste, showing how far people went to retain warmth. This kind of makeshift insulation wasn't just Roman. It was used across the empire, especially in colder provinces like Gaul and Britannia. Number 3. Wool, if you were lucky. Wool was the gold standard for staying warm, but for Roman peasants it was also expensive. Most had one woolen tunic, threadbare, patched, and passed down from older siblings. In winter they wore it day and night, sometimes layering it with whatever else they had: linen rags, leather scraps, even dried grass tucked under tunics. Because laundering wool was risky in the cold, it often went unwashed all winter, stiff with grime by February. Elite Romans had multiple wool cloaks, but the poor typically owned one, and when it wore out, they resorted to layering whatever they could scavenge. Number 4. Sleeping on straw, not stone. Roman tenements often had stone or packed dirt floors that turned ice cold at night. Beds, a luxury. Most peasants slept on straw pallets, bundles of dry grass or reeds laid directly on the ground. If they were resourceful, they layered old sacks, flattened baskets, or animal skins beneath them. This not only helped retain warmth, but protected against parasites and damp rot that crept up from the soil. In villages, leftover grain stalks from harvests were gathered and stockpiled specifically for winter bedding, a key part of seasonal prep. Number 5. The ash blanket trick. After the cooking fire burned down, peasants raked warm ashes into a shallow pit or spread them on the floor beneath their sleeping spot. Then they'd cover the ashes with straw or cloth and lie on top. The ashes held heat for hours, a primitive thermal mattress. The method, while risky, was known across various Roman provinces, and remnants of scorched straw have been found in domestic fire pits. Peasants even placed small clay pots filled with embers near their feet, using them like Roman-era hot water bottles. Number 6. No chimney, no problem. Except for the smoke, most Roman peasant homes didn't have chimneys. Smoke from indoor fires just drifted out through holes in the roof, or didn't. On the coldest nights, peasants sealed up their homes tight to trap heat, which meant trapping smoke too. They breathed thick, choking air as a trade-off for warmth. Carbon buildup from prolonged smoke inhalation was common, with ancient medical texts describing chronic coughs and blackened lungs in labourers. Still, the alternative, letting warmth escape, was deadlier, especially for infants and the elderly. Number 7. Layered dirt floors. To stay warmer in winter, peasants would add new dirt to their home floors. Yes, literal buckets of dirt. Each winter, they spread a fresh layer to cover cold stone or replace worn straw. It insulated from the ground up and provided a slightly warmer walking surface. This constant layering slowly raised floor levels over time. In some ruins, Thresholds sit nearly a foot below indoor surfaces due to this build-up. It wasn't clean, but the extra mass created thermal resistance that helped hold daytime heat longer into the night. Number 8. Living with livestock. If you had a goat, sheep or chickens, congratulations, you also had a natural radiator. Roman peasants often brought animals inside during winter nights. Chickens nested near the walls, goats slept beside the hearth, and pigs sprawled out like space heaters. Their body heat helped raise room temperature by several degrees, enough to prevent frostbite on the coldest nights. Veterinary manuals from the era even describe how peasants built pens inside their homes, not for convenience, but for warmth. Number 9. Walking to stay warm, even at night. If you couldn't sleep from the cold, you didn't lie there and suffer. You got up and walked. Peasants would pace indoors or step outside and stamp their feet, flapping their arms to generate body heat. It was crude, but it worked, temporarily. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder described this nighttime pacing habit as the poor man's fire. Some households even rotated who slept and who walked, ensuring at least one body was moving and generating shared warmth. Number 10. Plugging cracks with trash. Roman buildings were drafty. The mortar cracked. The doors warped. The windows, if they existed, were open holes in the wall. Peasants stuffed those cracks with rags, straw, dried leaves or trash. Even broken sandals and worn-out rope became insulation. Archaeologists have found wool scraps and fabric fragments stuffed into wall crevices in Roman homes, a literal patchwork against the wind. Everything was repurposed, worn-out sacks, shredded tunics, and even dried seaweed in coastal areas. Number 11. Burning. Literally anything. Firewood cost money, and if you didn't live near a forest or have land rights, you couldn't collect it freely. So peasants burned whatever they could find: olive pits, broken furniture, animal dung, scraps of cloth, even dried grapevines or garbage. Roman law sometimes banned collecting wood from noble estates, forcing peasants to risk arrest just to stay warm. Ash from burned dung was reused as fertilizer or mixed with plaster to line walls. Nothing was wasted. Number 12. Hot food as body fuel. In winter, Roman peasants turned to thick, hot meals like pulse, lentil stew, and root vegetable mash. The food was fuel, cheap calories to keep their core temperatures up. A single hot meal could mean the difference between making it to morning or not. Studies of Roman peasant diets show caloric spikes in winter months, not from luxury, but necessity. Hot food also doubled as a heat source. People cradled bowls for warmth before eating, and leftover pots were hugged like heaters. Number 13. Rags and rope for warmth. Peasant children and labourers wrapped their limbs in whatever they had: twine, linen scraps, shredded tunics, and twisted wool threads. Makeshift leg wraps acted like thermal braces. Wrists and ankles were wrapped to prevent body heat loss. Grave sites reveal skeletons buried with these wrap layers still intact, evidence of how common and necessary they were. And it wasn't just fabric. Rope was soaked in oil to block wind or tied over cloaks to create an insulating seal. Number 14. Cramming into clay ovens, yes, really. In rural villages, communal baking ovens were often warm long after use. When desperate, peasants would open the oven doors and climb partway inside or sit pressed against the stone to absorb residual heat. Some villages even used these ovens as shelters for the sick during cold snaps. Historical accounts from Gaul and Hispania describe entire families rotating shifts in unused ovens overnight. The practice was dangerous. Burns were common, but many saw it as safer than sleeping outdoors in frost. Number 15. Prayers and frostbite. When all else failed, peasants did the only thing left: endure. They prayed, they cursed, they shivered until morning. Fingers turned white, toes went numb. Infants didn't always survive the coldest nights. Ancient midwives described wrapping newborns in smoke-warm cloths to prevent cold shock, but survival rates in winter births were grim. Frostbite wasn't treated, it was endured. Blackened toes were sometimes cut off by village healers with a hot knife and no anaesthesia. We remember Roman emperors for their marble villas and golden crowns. But behind every monument stood a peasant who froze through 100 nights just to build it. Their homes were dirt and straw. Their warmth was borrowed. From fire, from livestock, from each other. They didn't thrive, they endured. And sometimes that's the most heroic thing a human being can do. If you found this glimpse into ancient survival as chilling as the nights they lived through, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more raw, gritty history that doesn't flinch from the truth. And if you thought this was rough, wait until you see how they fed themselves.